All right. So to begin with, what we're going to do is I'm going to do a recap of last week's session. Last week we had a session on the same topic that was quite well attended, I should say. A number of people joined us and showed some interest in learning how meditation can influence our capabilities, our abilities at our workplace. And so I did share some information. So I'm going to recap briefly, though not in as much depth, the same information that I shared with you last week. But then I will be sharing additional information today in today's session, and we'll go a bit deeper into the correlation of our inner subtle energy system with some of the traits that are extremely useful for success in our careers and any line of work that we might be involved in. And even if you are at present or not in a job per se on a professional basis, even if you're just looking around temporarily, that should still apply to you, because eventually when you get into your next opportunity, you will be able to leverage all of these learnings, use all of these learnings. And of course, in Sahaj, we always say that for those who are homemakers, that's in fact one of the most challenging jobs that you might have on hand. So that's as good as any job. So essentially, this session works for every one of us, whatever it might be, whether we are into an actual profession per se, or we just carry on doing our day-to-day work at home. So with that said, let's get to a quick recap of what we did last week. First and foremost, what are things that can quickly help us from the standpoint of meditation? And the biggest problem that we all face is making good progress at work and trying to resolve all the problems that come our way. So the first and foremost, the most important technique that I recommend always is obviously regular meditation. And especially if we are consistently doing morning meditation, then there is a big difference to the manner in which the day proceeds at work. And all of what I'm saying, including this point, is based completely out of my experience, out of, I would say, close to about 25 years of my career. And each one of these recommendations is something that I have tried out and I have experienced. I was fortunate enough in one aspect, which is I started my meditation while I was in college or while I was in school. And therefore, all of my career, all of the time that I have been working, meditation has always been with me. And so that gave me a great opportunity to experiment how I might use meditation for successful strategies, for successful outcomes at work. So the first one is I find that whenever I'm regular at my meditation and I wake up in the morning and I have a good meditation, then the rest of the day at work is extremely smooth. As opposed to that, the day when my quality of meditation is not that great, or rarely if I miss my meditation altogether, I actually find that my day is quite horrible. How do I qualify that? Problems crop up. I'm unable to find solutions. People seem to be more irritated with me, not so kind to me, and so on and so forth. There's just a whole lot of problems. Fast forward the next day, when I take time to do my meditation properly, all of that goes away. So there's an inherent smoothness, or you could say lack of resistance to your life at work when you are a regular meditator, simply stated. Second, if you want to have some creative solutions, if you want to be really good at your work, do it at a good pace, get some appreciation and so on, then there is one center that is related to that, which is the second energy center, and that's called the Swadhisthana Chakra. And keeping that center clean, I personally have found in my line of work, which requires pulling creative solutions out of the box thinking, as they call it, in corporate America. That kind of ability comes exclusively because of the power of this particular chakra or energy center. So that's something to keep in mind. I do clearing techniques, and the foot soaking technique is good for the lower chakras, the first, second, and third chakra. So that helps a lot as well. Third, this is pretty common. You might be facing a lot of stress, high pressure deadlines, schedules, needing to finish work, and so on. I think most of us experience this. It's rare to see somebody where the work we do is actually quite positive, energizing, unless maybe we have the um, privilege or luxury of being an artist, of being our own boss. But even if you are your own boss, you work for yourself, at some point in time or other, there's always going to be stress. So meditation and stress, we know the obvious correlation. Meditation helps in alleviating stress. So I'm not going to really delve deeper into this point. I will, however, say that in this technique of Sahaj meditation, foot soaking in particular, as well as the use of ice packs placed on our liver, which is on the right side, upper abdomen, helps a lot in quickly getting rid of the stress. These two techniques put together are extremely effective. The reason for that is if you have a line of work which is intense mental activity, analysis, and a lot of that spreadsheeting, a financial reporting kind of work, desk job essentially, then we use our brains a lot more as compared to a job where you have to walk around, do something physical. But even then, even physical and mental, both of these energies drain our right side or the right energy channel, and create an imbalance at the core of our system. So they also generate heat, and to dissipate that heat away from your inner being and your body, to cool down your liver, to stabilize your attention, for all of this, which effectively brings down the stress, the techniques of foot soaking and using ice packs are extremely effective. Moving further to a slightly higher strata of benefit, doing meditations regularly also fine tunes your communication and relationship skills. There is a specific center that's responsible for this, and that happens to be the fifth energy center that's located right here. And when that center is strong in the medium to long term, we find that we develop good communication skills, good teamwork, and forgiveness. As we know, you might have heard in a number of our sessions, if you have attended them before, is a trait that is developed at this particular energy center, number 6. Trying to be forgiving, trying to move on, is also a skill that we can use at work. It helps foster good teamwork and a good relationship with our colleagues. Radiate positivity and strength in the face of problems and deadlines. Yeah, it also helps, kind of not panic, remain cool and calm and composed, and have a positive outlook. So this also comes more in the medium to long term as a result of our meditations. Then to carry on further, establishing honesty and reliability. The chances that you will be seen as somebody who's extremely reliable, can be counted upon to complete the work, can be trusted at work, exponentially increases when you begin to meditate, and especially with something like Sahaja meditation, because we get that innate quality within us. We get the magnetic sort of attraction that people have. Your supervisors, your colleagues will always trust you and say, if this is a most important project or a task or piece of work or activity, then let's use this person to do it, because they are more comfortable working with you and trusting you. End of the day, all our things in life go on based on trust. So establishing trust is something that a meditator can have an edge over a lot of the others. And meditation actually builds that quality inside you. Um, Moving further on, job satisfaction and proving your worth is something that you get to learn and develop as you meditate. The reason for this is the inherent trait of satisfaction is related to the third energy center. If you are a regular meditator, you will find that in general in life, you do have a sense of happiness, joy, and satisfaction. You're not always in that mode of, hey, am I being paid enough for the work I do? When am I going to get my next promotion? And why is that other person doing better? Why did he or she get a raise, and why don't I get this? And a lot of those thoughts tend to disappear. You take pride in your work. You get the satisfaction of doing your work with good quality. You get satisfaction from having a good relationship with your peers and your supervisors. You take satisfaction from the fact that you are trustworthy and reliable. And in any case, as you meditate more and more, you begin to realize that material comforts and money can only take you so far. There are so many other things in life, which constitute happiness. So when that kind of a mentality and mindset sets in, I think it's extremely useful at workplace too. So we generally tend to move out of the quote unquote rat race, as they call it, trying to compete and all of those things. Last but not the least, in terms of techniques and I would say methods where meditation can help us in our work. This is something that has happened all the time. When I'm stuck, when I have a problem that refuses to go away, when I have a crisis, rather than get deeper and deeper into trying to solve it, if I try to take a break, find a quiet spot, or maybe a conference room which I book where nobody else is there, I lock the doors, go inside, raise my energy, do some meditation for even 5 minutes, and surrender to that power, that higher consciousness. That's extremely important. Place that problem in the attention of the all-pervading power. And then I come back and I find many times magically the problem has either been solved or is significantly less or less difficult to solve, and so on. So this getting into thoughtless awareness is something that we do in our day-to-day meditation. It can be an extremely powerful technique when we are stuck trying to find answers, trying to find solutions. Maybe if you're doing some financial kind of work, things aren't tallying, numbers don't look right, and so on and so forth. Just getting into that thoughtless awareness, tapping into that energy helps a lot. In the initial phases, you might find it surprising, but over a period of time, it will be no surprise that the more you use the energy inside, the more successful you will be at work. Now, this was what we covered last week. So I'm going to actually move on to today's session and take about 5 or 7 minutes more to go deeper, and then we will have a good 15-minute meditation after that. What I thought I would do is I would map the subtle energy system and the components of it to certain traits that are relevant to our workplace, right? And so it starts with the first energy center. If you haven't already acquired this information about our subtle energy system, I will explain as we go along. At a very simplistic level, the subtle energy system is a real system of energy centers and channels, also known as the chakras and the nadis in the Sanskrit language. It is an ancient, what could you say, discovery, so to speak. We are born with that subtle energy system, which has always been there. As children, as babies, we come into this world with that subtle energy system, which comprises of the energy centers, channels, and of course the energy itself. inside us at the base of the spine, which is known as the Kundalini energy. So we are born with it, but there is one catch to it. For 99% of us, this subtle energy system is dormant or not in an awakened state. And so when we, after we are born, when we pursue something like this kind of meditation, that technically that term is called seeking, right? When we are seeking something that is deeper and maybe something that's the higher truth, then we have an opportunity to awaken or activate our subtle energy system. And what does activation really mean? It means that the energy that is there at the core of our energy system is awakened, and it is made to rise through the central energy channel. It passes through 6 energy centers located at various points on our central nervous system and in our spine. And then it rises to the top of the head. Here is the 7th energy center. At the crown of the head, the top of the head, is the point at which that energy then pierces through and achieves sort of our inner self or spirit, which is located in our heart, achieves a connection with this universal energy. Now, this universal energy is part of, you could say, a higher realm of consciousness. It is subtle, of course. It is beyond the confines of space and even time, right? It is timeless. It is beyond space. You could call it the 4th dimension, if you will. But it is very real. There is this force. There is this universal energy. It moves the universe. It is present everywhere, and it is extremely intelligent, right? So that storehouse of energy is what we connect our inner being or the subtle energy system to. And that's what happens during the activation. And once activated, every single time we meditate, we raise our consciousness to that higher realm. And what that does is it causes our inner being to be completely nourished, to be healthier, and therefore that results in the manifestation of many of these qualities. The positive traits and qualities that we always keep talking about, forgiveness, innocence, and creativity, and this and that, all of that begins to, all of those begin to manifest innately. That's the important thing. There is a difference between mentally conditioning yourself to say, be forgiving, versus forgiveness as a trait manifesting inside you. Like, you becoming a forgiving person is not the same as you mentally conditioning yourself to forgive somebody, right? The two are distinctively different. Why? Because when you're mentally trying to forgive somebody, you use your cognitive capabilities, you use your brains, you use your mind and say, okay, now I must forgive this person. Let me try and forgive. Let go, kind of a thing, right? Whereas when forgiveness, when you try to become a forgiving person, you are surrendering to that power and allowing that power to heal you, to take you to a higher place and a superior sort of place where you have better traits, and you are automatically able to forgive people, or it becomes quite easy for you to develop the quality, right? In fact, the whole term of developing forgiveness becomes irrelevant. Forgiveness just comes to you, just like that. So that is a difference, and that's how this whole subtle energy system works. Coming back to our topic, how does this result in the qualities that are relevant for our career or work? The first energy center, when we nourish that center, I did speak about honesty, reliability, and trustworthiness. This center squarely focuses on those qualities. So if you have a strong first energy center, and what do I mean by that, right? Let's take a few seconds in explaining that. Activation of our subtle energy system is fine. Getting that connection is also fine. But then none of us are perfect. That is something important to understand. We still, as human beings, have a lot of faults, or have a lot of areas of improvements. And each one of us is unique in that aspect. We are unique in terms of our traits, the degree to which different traits exist within us, and we are unique in terms of the problems as well, right? Or our inadequacies, if I could put it that way. So somebody could be great, this particular fifth energy center, they could be very strong. So they're very fluent and they are easy relationship builders. At the same time, they could have a problem with another energy center on a relative basis, right? That might be weak, and therefore they do not exhibit those traits strongly enough, right? So each one of us is different, and the state of our energy system is different. The extent to which the traits manifest within us is different. So that's what we mean by saying, if my Muladhara chakra or my first energy center is strong, it means that innately I have relatively superior um, quality and state of my first energy center. That might not be the case with some other center, right? So the first center gives us these qualities, and as we said, as I said before, these can be extremely useful in your at work. So if you have these problems, if somebody is giving you feedback that, hey, I don't trust you, right? Then you know that the center that you want to trust, you want to work on, is your first energy center. Now, creative solutions and problem solving, I did speak about it earlier. The second energy center is exclusively devoted to this. So the reason that the second energy center helps you in this aspect is that, if you do recall, for those of you who have been attending our sessions for quite a while now, there is an affirmation that we say, please let me have pure knowledge, right? What is that pure knowledge? Pure knowledge is different from the knowledge, not to say that the other kind of knowledge is impure, but pure knowledge really translates to a superior form of intuitive knowledge. Take it that way, right? And that knowledge that comes from somewhere in the unconscious realm, meaning think of it as intuitive knowledge. The power of intuition is your pure knowledge. And the other knowledge that we get by reading books, or in this case, listening to me, right? You're probably acquiring some knowledge, or through the cognitive process. That is, as I said, not necessarily impure knowledge, but that is the regular kind of knowledge that we gain. So the access to the power of intuition, magically getting solutions. And Einstein has spoken about that. He says he used to call that torsion area, right? And all of his solutions. And there's this famous story where he was trying the theory of relativity for a long, long time. And then he almost gave up, but then he went and lay down under a tree, under an apple tree. And suddenly the solution dawned on him. That suddenly solution dawning on him, even he recognized that came from a very special place. And that really summarizes the power of the Swadhisthana chakra. So when we have access to that power of intuition, we almost quickly get those solutions like nobody else can, right? So that is the magic, sort of, as long as we are meditating and keeping our second energy center healthy enough. So that's that. The third center really focuses on how much caring you are, how much you work as a team, and we did speak about satisfaction as well. So that is another trait that you will develop by virtue of the third energy center. Now, the void is technically not an energy center, but it is a region. If you study the subtle energy system diagram and a map, which is there on our website, and we do cover that very often in our sessions too, is an area sort of in the subtle energy system. The ability or the quality of becoming an expert, or a guru as it is called, is exclusively related to this particular area of our subtle energy system. Meaning, if your void is very strong, then chances are that you will be seen as an expert in your line of work. You will be able to develop that sense of respect, or command that sense of respect from your colleagues or within your industry. The other quality of being a guru, which also comes from the void area, is self-regulation, meaning nobody has to tell you the right time, the right kind of work to do, and nobody has to tell you, hey, do it, it's time, are you late, have you finished it? Nobody has to follow up with you. You know yourself. You are extremely disciplined, and you can regulate yourself. You know when things aren't going well. You know when you are not doing your best, right? That quality of self-regulation, and through introspection, also comes because of the power of the void. And eventually you begin to work to your own standard of performance, which typically and most often is higher than what others might set for you as a goal or a standard of performance. So you work to your own standards, which are much higher, and you are not happy unless those standards are met, right? That is the quality that the strength of the void within us develops. Moving on, further up, the heart energy center or the heart chakra. This is a center of compassion. So you feel kindness towards your colleagues. You do not undermine their effort. Even if there are people who are not as skilled, you tend to have compassion for them, help them out. And especially if you become the boss sometime, then you are able to see people with the lens of compassion. You see them as people, not as workers, right? That's an extremely powerful asset to have. A lot of career success, people moving up the ladder, getting promotions happens because of their people skills. So that people skills entirely comes, from this heart chakra, from your heart. If you have compassion for your people who are working for you. And then the other aspect of the heart chakra, which also helps us at workplace, is following rules and protocols. Typically, you become the person that plays by the rule book, doesn't break any rules, and doesn't like breaking rules at all. Right? So that also comes from the right side of the heart chakra. Moving on, the next center is number 5. I did speak about this. People who are very fluent, good communicators, not necessarily extroverts or introverts, but they maintain a great balance. They have the right kind of relationships. They network, as we call it, with a lot of people. They are friendly to everybody. They are really liked by a lot of people. All of that comes if you have a strong energy center at this level, which is the level of the Vishuddhi chakra. Moving on, this center, I spoke about forgiveness, but these are some of the qualities that meditation can help, especially if you have a strong Agya chakra, is basically you're a humble person. Doesn't matter if you have a lot of achievements, you're the best employee of the month, right? Doesn't matter. You're always humble. All those things don't really matter. And the other thing is on being able to let go and move past failures. A lot of people get stuck when they experience some kind of a failure. But if you have a strong Agya chakra, you will pick yourself up and you will take it as a learning and move on, right? And you will also be extremely flexible to try out new solutions, to try out newer methods. You will not be rigid. You will not be conditioned, stuck in a rut. All of these qualities come by virtue of an improved and a better Agya chakra over here. Last but not the least, Sahasrara, as I said, crown of the head. How does it correlate to your work? Simple use of this higher consciousness. I gave you an example of how getting into thoughtless awareness magically solves problems. So as a person at work, you will always keep in mind that this world is run by that powerful energy, which is a lot more powerful, than who we are as individuals. So you will always be aware of that, and you will try more and more to surrender to that power and use that power in your work to spread the benefits of that, to people all around you, and so on and so forth. So acknowledging that higher consciousness and power and solving that problem and using it to solve problems is really I would say, distinguishing trait of a meditator. So that's what the power of the Sahasrara chakra gives you. All right, so I've reached the end of the actual explanation, and I knew it was a bit long and possibly longer than most of our sessions. But these 2 sessions on workplace are sort of rare. I don't do these often, maybe once a year. So I thought I might take slightly more time in explaining how meditation and workplace skills are related. So now we'll go on to our meditation. So let's spend about 10 to 15 minutes trying to do our meditation. Um, let's try to now raise our energy, and we can raise, for those of you who know the technique of doing it, please go ahead and raise your energy. For others, it's okay. You can just close your eyes and try and raise your energy using a right hand. Move it to the crown of the head 3 times, palms facing inward. Let's take a moment to stabilize our attention, turn it inward to look at ourselves, watch our attention, watch our breathing. Let's sit in the default posture for meditation, which is having our hands on our laps, hands resting on our laps, palms facing upward, and the fingers stretched out to receive and feel the vibrations from the all-pervading power. Now, let's take our attention to the crown of the head and try to get into that higher thoughtless awareness state. Let's watch to see if we are getting any thoughts. If you do get a thought, just snap out of it, just let it go, and get back into the mode of observation. Watch your attention. Now you can feel the vibrations increase gradually on your fingertips, kind of a tingling sensation. You may also feel it on the crown of your head. This means our attention and our collective attention is settling down and stabilizing. Now we get deeper into the state of thoughtless awareness, and even my talking should be somewhat disturbing to you if you're deeply in that state. So I'm going to stop talking. So we can now gently open our eyes and let's try and raise our energy to conclude the meditation. And I'm going to use the regular technique for doing that. So hopefully you had a good experience of the meditation. For me, it was, I would say, good, uh, but maybe not as great as some of the other sessions. And it varies each time. Some days it's really good, some days it's probably okay and good. And that is sort of technique in itself. For you, after every session of meditation, whether you're meditating at home or in a collective session, to introspect to see how the quality of your meditation was. In my case today, there were about 4 times where there was some thought that came, and I would have probably spent about 15-20 seconds on it, getting dragged into that thought. But then I regulated my attention and said, okay, now I'm doing my meditation, snap out of it. Sometimes there are fewer thoughts. The session is very good. Sometimes there are more thoughts. So it all depends. So that is the technique by which you can sort of measure the quality of your thoughtless awareness. Progression in meditation means that you should have, for the most part, good quality thoughtless awareness. Now, and it's not something that you will acquire overnight. You will have to increase the length of your meditation. That is one important thing if you want better and better quality of thoughtless awareness. Two, you have to do your foot soaking as regularly as you can. Three, collective meditation sessions are special, um, not as much even for learning new things as today's session was about, but more for getting that collective experience. Even if you're not able to feel the difference now, eventually you will feel the difference between meditating on your own versus collective meditation. With that, we come to the end of today's session. Thanks for taking the time, and please do join us for our other sessions and other topics. And I will try to make this recording available on YouTube for you to come back and refer to it. And with that, I'm signing off. This is your instructor, Shankar Ramani. Thank you.